give the survey five options for names of the park, and these names include Sarah Turner Community Park, after our town historian, Sarah Turner; Jordan Community Park, after the original owner of the land; Gillis Community Park, after William Gillis, who purchased the land from William Jordan; Harover Community Park, after Philip Harover, who purchased the property in 1965 from Edith Gillis; and then Haymarket Community Park, after our town, and then we would have a write-in option. So we're just looking for direction from council to proceed and move forward on this.
Let's go around the dais here. Good options?
I like it.
I agree. I think that it's well thought out. I think you and staff have put a great amount of time into it, and I like all the ideas. I'm glad that we're reaching out via mailer and making sure that it's informative and making sure that we're reaching out to the community so everyone knows about it before we start going into it. When are we thinking about putting out the mailers?
Everything would go out Monday, the 15th. That's
Everything
when
will go out Monday.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Councilwoman Edwards.
My only question is, at Haymarket Day, can anyone vote, or is it only town residents?
Well, since we're calling it a community park, I think we would open it up to anyone who would like to.
But the mailers would only go out to the town?
Correct.
Okay.
To the town businesses and to the residents.
Yeah. I think you've done a good job. I mean, you've vetted all the way back many good options for the property, so thank you.
Councilman Cole.
I like Hessian Park myself for some of the Revolutionary War history in town. Hessian.
Oh.
Right in.
Yes. Anyway, no, it sounds great. I say move on.
Councilman Morse.
I like the direction that you're going. I think you did a lot of work. You put a lot of thought into it. I just don't like a lot of options. I like 2 options and a write-in, but that's just me. I like Harover and Haymarket and write-in, but I think everyone else kind of like the avenue of 5 plus a write-in, but if you're asking for my opinion, I would say 2 plus a write-in.
Just 2 on the write-in?
Can I just respond to that? Because I like what he's saying, but also I like what Denise is doing because it teaches history. And I think that's where you're coming from. You're trying
We
to
would
get-
give the background on the reason behind that name.
Right, okay. So then that kind of, I like that idea.
Somebody's going to get burned,
Well, can't always win.
Yeah.
especially the second family that bought it from the first family.
Exactly.
I think we have a consensus that to go ahead as directed there.
Okay, thank you.
Good job.
Yep.
And I just want to give an update on Haymarket Day. We currently have 139 vendors in. We ended last year with 207, so we're 68 vendors away from last year's number. We currently have $22,240 generated by vendor booths. Last year, we ended the number with $27,135. So that difference is $4,895 as of today. Sponsorship. As of today, we have $23,000 sponsored for Haymarket Day. Last year, we had $13,000. I'll open up to any questions from council.
Where do you need the most help on for the sign-up sheet?
Yeah.
Anywhere?
Everywhere. The parade is going to be, I think, an area that we need a lot of help.
Can we get flags this year for the parade?
What do you mean?
American flags.
Okay.
No, we got either one. It's either
Small
that or
little-
we're gonna somebody's gonna climb the pole and take off American flags. But I just would love to see American flags. Last year we didn't do it. We didn't have the flags last year, and
And probably, especially since our Grand Marshal is Sergeant D'Andrea.
Yes.
And I
So
think.
some small handheld flags? that-
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
yes. That shouldn't be an
Yeah.
issue.
That would be good.
I'll still wear my Jamaican shirt. But yeah, it's a great idea. We do need the flags.
Okay.
Denise, can I miss
No, absolutely, good.
You mentioned that we are short compared to last year, 68 vendors. Do we have enough spots left for 68 vendors?
Yes, because we're going to start at the corner of Washington and Fayette and go all the way to the Harover property.
So even though the layout has changed a little bit this year, we still have room for 68 more. And
Yes.
even though the space that we're giving them this year is a little bit bigger.
Correct.
We still have space for 68.
Correct.
What is your plan to make up for that deficit? Do you have an outreach in mind in reaching out to those who have not yet signed up?
Yes. In fact, in my week-ending report on July 22nd, Donna and I actually went through last year's vendors, pulled out those who have not registered as of yet for Haymarket Day. I emailed and personally called all of those vendors. And as of today, we have at least 10 that have already put in their application and made payment. So that's one of the ways I've done outreach to those who participated last year but not have signed up for this year for Haymarket Day.
Okay. All right,
But
thank you.
those last 2 weeks, we really have a push. Like, applications are coming in heavily.
And that's normal.
And that's normal, yes.
That would be my next question. How are we tracking as compared to last year? In other words, does it always appear that people wait and they come in?
Well, this
towards the end?
is the second year, and as far as the town taking back the events, we are definitely ahead of last year, and we are tracking the applications as they come in. What was the other part of the question? I'm sorry.
No, that was it, just if we're tracking, yeah. Other questions for the council?
Sure. As a matter of fact, I saw in the Haymarket Lifestyle in the middle the advertisement, so
Yes.
that'll help get the
So
word out.
we had the double-page center spread on the August 1 edition of Haymarket Lifestyle, and we will also have the double-page center spread in September 1 edition of Haymarket Lifestyle.
Okay, great. I have a question about the farmer's market. So that's your responsibility? You coordinate with them?
Yes.
Okay, how's that going? And I was just wondering, I didn't get a chance to mention it to you. You think maybe you can put that in your report too?
Yes, I can.
And see how that's working? And they'll be part of the Haymarket Day again?
Yes, they will.
Okay,
They will probably be located on the Hanover property itself. The farmer's market will be set up there. In fact, I spoke with Sally, I can't remember her last name. She actually coordinates with all the other vendors for the farmer's market. I spoke to her today, and they have decided the easiest way for pedestrians and people who are driving by to see the actual location of the farmer's market is to be located along the back side of the wall of the building here. It gives them a better street presence. So they're moving forward. They're going to locate all of their booths along the wall here in front of Town Hall.
Along where?
Right here along the wall here, in front of Town Hall.
Okay.
Yeah. I think with the exception of Miss Shirley, I think she's going to stay in her spot. She likes her spot.
and then one other question about the deck. Did we ever do the calculation on the occupancy? Remember we were talking about the load? I think we have to do that. yeah.
Yes, I thought it
Well,
was
we-
200.
I thought Joe did it.
Yes,
Joe
you
did it? Okay.
Yes.
All right, I was just wondering what the.
I can
the
get that number from
Okay.
him.
All right, good. All right.
Just one more, Mr. Mayor. Will we be having a temporary crosswalk? Maybe this is a question for the chief. A temporary
I would have to
crosswalk
talk to the chief.
instead, in front of the Harova property?
I'll have to defer that to
Is
the
that
chief.
something, chief, that you think we should investigate?
You mean during the event?
Yes, for the day, just having a temporary crosswalk for pedestrians coming from Green Hill area, going across to the Harova property.
It will be within the portion of the roadway that's closed.
Right.
Because we'll be closed. We'll never be closed any closer to town than Blight Drive.
Okay.
So they should be able to walk down to Blight
Blight and then
and cross over.
there. Okay.
Communication, I remember the 1 year,
Yeah, they ordered them already.
oh, good.
They ordered 12 radios already with earpieces and pigtail. They want Secret Service. Right.
Secret Service, yeah, okay.
Yeah, sunglasses.
So you're meeting every week now as we ramp up?
Yes, our next meeting is next Monday, August 8th,
Okay.
2 o'clock.
at 2 o'clock. It's just like, yes.
Great.
And our next business social is that same morning, August 8th, at 8:30 a.m.
Gotcha. Yep.
And Chick-fil-A groundbreaking ceremony is this Thursday at 9 a.m.
Yes,
Reminder.
yeah. That's going to be great.
Is anybody going to be waiting online?
Well, that would be Wednesday, actually, as the lineup. I think the 24 hours before, and I understand they can only come from zip codes of Haymarket and Gainesville. So 20169 and 20155. That prevents, I guess,
Is
some
there a
people.
plan for parking over there? Is the parking lot going to be closed?
Yeah.
Our involvement so far has been to contract for the 2 nights before the grand opening. So we'll always have an officer there, and of course Chick-fil-A is financing that. I haven't seen a particular traffic plan that they've submitted, but I would have to assume, given the number of people who are going to be there, the entrances will be physically barricaded.
Okay.
Has anyone
you.
ever been to one of those to see what?
Yeah.
It's fun.
You have
When the Gainesville store opened up, I was in high school at that time, and a lot of friends, as I did not personally attend it, but I drove by, and it's a good tailgate. I'll tell you, they tailgate out. It's like a Black Friday. You go out there, you put up your tent, put up a grill, and you have a good time.
It's good stuff.
You want to go? We can go.
And you get a meal for the whole year. I think a meal
You
every
get a
week.
meal a week for a whole year.
Yeah.
At any Chick-fil-A location.
Right.
So it doesn't have to
And
be.
the first, was it 100 people?
First 100 people.
Yeah, in line.
I think you just announced it into our community.
Yeah, there we go. For the
They were
listening
trying
audience.
to keep it quiet. Well done, Denise.
Great.
Thank you,
Okay.
council.
All right, thank you. Our next item is our treasurer's report. Ms. Wilson, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I handed out a up-to-date P&L, as the one that was in your packet is a little different than normal, but thank you, Jen, for filling in for me last week. She tried. So with the new budget year here, there's really not a whole lot to report right now, as we're getting into the fiscal year. We got Mary Earhart will be here on August 16th to do some pre-audit work and what the auditors will need from her. They also given me some prep work to do as well, and the auditors would like to start on August 30th. So I don't expect to see any results of our fiscal year 16 audit until probably mid to late September, and will probably be reported in the October meeting, would be my guess on the timeline. You'll see in your packet tonight a resolution to fund the capital improvement projects and provide a capital budget. That was not done, so we have that in tonight. We had the public hearing. As you can see, the amounts for capital are a little small right now. We did spend a lot of money in capital this past fiscal year, got some things done. For the future, though, additional revenue sources would need to be found, or a consideration of possibly raising taxes to continue capital projects such as the Harrover Master Plan, the Town Center Master Plan, or any other capital items that will be desired. Our Finance Committee meeting met and discussed the 30% fund reserve that the town has, and decided that it's the best interest to maintain at that 30% fund level, which after the budget amendment tonight, that 30% would be $697,590 to keep in reserve. And we do have the $300,000 set aside in the Virginia Investment Pool Fund. Other than that,
Questions?
Good job on keeping it at the 30%.
Yeah, we went round and round with that number. We all saw the presentation, right? They were recommending different levels, and we didn't want to tie up too much money. But then again, we wanted to be in a position where if we decided to go out and bond, that the 30% is where Moody's is. Moody's looks at that very favorably. They give it a very good look, and they find it very acceptable. So that's why we kept it at 30. Of course, some of us think maybe it might be better a little bit less, but given where we are now in our funding needs, it's probably best to leave it where it is for the time being. So,
Okay. Other questions for Sherry?
Yes. Are we meeting tomorrow? Meeting tomorrow, 2 o'clock, or is it next week?
I don't-
All right, we can talk later.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. No, we were going to start meeting a little bit more regularly as the new budget season started, to keep an eye on things, so a little bit more tighter. So we'll talk after the meeting.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. No further questions. We'll move on to our engineer's report.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Ms. Holly.
Good evening.
Good evening.
In my report, I'm actually looking for 2 directives from the town council. The first one has to do with an Eagle Scout project. There's a Eagle Scout and outlying community that wants to stencil all of our storm sewer for his Eagle Scout project. I've already begun the coordination, but I'm looking for a directive from you to basically tell me, go ahead and do all of the coordination, sign his project notebook, get him the information he needs and stuff like that.
What,
Question. Go ahead.
what kind of stenciling is it going to be? I mean, is it just the words on the,
I haven't seen it, because at first he was talking about doing like a placard that he had to nail in, but VDOT shut that down and said, no, you can't do that. So I haven't seen the latest stencil, but it's something that's going to be along the line. It has to be flat. For VDOT, it has to be flat. And it's something that'll say, that the preliminary ones that he was proposing was something along the lines of no dumping drains to bay. So I have a feeling it's going to be something along those lines.
I've seen that before.
This is not a definite, this is when he was talking, yeah, and it shouldn't be big, something, I'm thinking probably about no more than that big.
Oh, it looks inches, 8 inches. That's 6 to 8 inch diameter. Right. ARB considerations?
Yes, that's the thing I was thinking about. Is this something
Eric,
that
do you think there
we
is?
need to run it through?
You could ask them for an advisory opinion, but because it's on public property, it's not a zoning issue.
And that's why they have to get a VDOT permit, is because since VDOT maintains our drainage, our roads and drainage, they actually have to get a VDOT permit. I've already been in touch with the permit manager, and he's waived the fees associated with that in the past, and anticipates him doing so. And that's why I've already started that coordination, because I figured that might be a problem.
So this is a sign that will be seen from driving on the road?
You would probably see, I don't know if you'd be able to read it.
Okay.
It's going to be stenciled flat on top of the storm sewer.
Okay.
The intent is so that people don't dump toxic, let's say, car wash material, oil, it's supposed to be no dumping drains to Bay, or Chesapeake Bay, drains to Chesapeake
It's
Bay.
really just stormwater, right? That's really what it's.
That's the only thing that's supposed to be in there, correct?
well, is it all the storm?
Yeah, how
drains?
many are they looking
Like
to do?
200 some odd, I think he said he's done a
The
preliminary
entire
count, and he's talking about
Wow.
doing the entire town.
And has he reached out to the HOAs and stuff like that, or is it?
Um,
because it's-
That I'm not aware of if he's gone to the HOAs. I only directed him towards VDOT.
I do have a question, though, also, about liability. Now, in this permitting, they're going to be near the streets, or they're going to work from the sidewalk. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do that, but are we going to be held harmless from this kind of activity?
I will double check, since I know he has to have an adult supervisor that goes on, and I think that's what the VDOT permit takes care of, is the liability issue. This is not something that the town is requesting him to do. It's something he's doing for his project.'re just saying, yes, we support you doing that, and go ahead. But I can double check and maybe get with Martin and stuff like that afterwards to see if there are liability issues.
Just reading his mind.
Sorry?
I was just reading Martin's
Yeah.
mind.
And did he mention about, I guess this is a one-time project, so maintenance, I would assume this is stenciled by paint.
It'll be a one-time project.
Yeah, so it just washes away after so many years.
Is this a technicality because VDOT maintains the streets, but we own the streets? Is that why we're party to it, or?
Well, we're party to it because it's in the town.
Okay. I'm just saying for liability, it's, VDOT owns and maintains those types of things, but anyway. I guess.
Sure. Councilman Morse.
Let me try to understand this. So there are stormwater drains throughout the town, and they're looking at putting a plaque,
No, they're looking at putting a stencil.
a stencil.
A stencil, in other words, you take an outline of something, you put it down, and you spray paint it, so it will show what the message you want to show.
So in no way will it block
Oh,
any
no,
of?
no.
Okay.
Mm-mm. And it's going to be on top on the concrete. And at first, he was talking about doing a placard that had to be nailed, and VDOT was like, no, because that makes the concrete crumble, it's a trip hazard. So I had actually done that upfront coordination. I'm sorry. That's what he gave me when he was talking about a plaque. And I have not seen his second round because I wanted to make sure this is something that, before I had him go through a lot more efforts, I wanted to see if this was something the town council wanted to support.
I'd like to see what it looks like. I'd like to see.
That would be my only suggestion, is for him to maybe reach out to the ARB, come with the final design, as well as the HOAs. I mean, I think if somebody just shows up in the community and starts spray painting, somebody might get a lot of calls about that. If our guy in our community doesn't have his orange vest on, people call, so I'm just,
No, and
yeah.
and I
I would
appreciate
hate
all
for
of the
him to be,
advice,
you know, as a young kid.
to be run off.
Yes, I would hate for that to happen, and it might, so.
Just wondering what it's going to look like in a year or two time when it faded, and it's going to look worse than.
Mr. Mayor, it's not really legal, but I was just in California, and they have them all over the place, and they look nice.
I actually have a placard on my refrigerator from
Yeah.
another place.
They do need to be maintained like any other paint, but they look nice for years.
And I just heard there was another person looking for a possible Eagle Scout in the project, so maybe touching them up can be future Eagle Scout
There
projects.
you go.
Do you at least still feel comfortable with issuing me the directive to start the coordination? I know he wanted to get done in the summer, which is basically this month.
Let's go around the dice and see what we got to.
I mean, I'm okay. I think it's a great idea. My only concern is liability. That would be my concern, and I imagine they're going to have a flag person or something protecting them, but
And same deal, we had just on the initial kickoff meeting to see if it was something that, I wasn't even sure if they were going to move forward with it. So that would be some of the coordination in terms of safety and stuff like
right.
that.
I think it's a good
I
community
don't know
project.
that they would need a flag or if they're working from the sidewalk side.
Okay, well, that'll be VDOT's call, I would think. But you are somewhat close to the right-of-way, and I'd be a little concerned about that, somebody making a mistake, stepping out, perhaps.
I'd like to see what it looks like, showing, having the plaque, and then also seeing what's online. I'd just like to see what his directive is in regards to what actually will say. I know he said that no dumping drains the bay, but is that going to be his permanent slogan, or?
That I have not seen. That was the slogan he'd come up with when he first approached me.
Yeah, I'm on board for it. I'd just like to see what it looked like and what.
Would that be something that if he gives it to me, you would feel comfortable with emailing?
Sure. Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Councilwoman Edwards.
Yeah, I want to see it first.
Okay. Councilman Cole.
I say run it by the ARB. I think it's great. I'm not worried about what it's going to look like in a year or two, because there's always another scout that needs another project, so they can come back and refresh it after 4 or 5 years.
Keep the template. Yes. Councilman Morse.
I'm in support of it.
All right.
Is there a draft directive, or is it on hold, or?
I think we could, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, we could respond by email after we've seen.
Mr. Mayor, I think the way to handle that would be to say that by consensus of council, you want to move forward pending a review of the actual art, and that if any council member objects to it, that they will raise that with Ms. Montague, and then we would have an opportunity to meet again, because you can't actually vote by email, so it would have to be phrased in that fashion.
Okay.
Unless we want to give the ARB authority to tell them to go ahead. 'Cause the
That's
ARB
also
meets,
an option.
what, 2 weeks?
17th.
The 17th.
Yeah, we don't want to hold them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is go time for Eagle Scouts.
Let the ARB make that decision.
Can we make that as a directive then?
I'm good with it.
Works for me.
Okay. So do you understand what we've done?
Yes, you're directing me to get approval from the ARB and make sure he coordinates with the HOAs and look into MOT and liability, managed traffic and liability.
There you go. Great. All right. Thank you.
And just keep that in mind, because there may be other projects you can tap into. So it's good. Good job.
Okay. The second one has to do with the Harover Property Town Park Engineering Services. I gave you an update of where we're at. We're working on the fee proposal. I'm hoping to come to you next month for ratification. But what I was hoping that you would do at this meeting or soon is, in order to keep the project moving forward, I think we need to have a steering committee of a member of council ARB and Planning Commission. And this is actually at the top-ranked firm's suggestion, that where we meet once a month, give them status updates, but they have the ability to make some decisions on behalf of the boards so that we don't run into what we had happen on the concept plan, where the design is done, it's presented to the boards, and there were so many comments that caused so many reiterations.
Right.
It's not that you guys would never have a chance to see it. I would hope that you guys could talk, even if a decision isn't made that day, maybe, just kind of talks amongst yourselves. But I think we need to figure out a way to keep these projects moving forward, but not have so many iterations at the end, because you guys have never seen it before.
And of course, funding is our biggest thing with this, and the reason why.
That's another agenda item. Or no, not the Harrow property, I'm sorry, it's the town center.
Yeah, speaking of here.
Steve's not here.
So it's just a recommendation. Of course,
Yeah, actually, if I can just jump in, that's kind of the stuff that I used to do back in my other life, where we used to coordinate. I'm sorry?
Sounds like a volunteer.
No. No, actually, I was going to volunteer Chris as the facilities dude.
That's a program that we use.
But I like the concept. I think the concept really works well, especially when you have competing priorities, and you sit everybody down from each group, and you work through those issues. And of course, they're going to be coming back and coordinating with their constituencies on each board and commission. So I think it's a great idea. It works well if it's done right, and it saves time and a lot of aggravation at the back end.
When do these meetings take place?
well, we don't even have a signed contract yet, so it would be after we get a signed
Would it
contract.
be during business hours, or?
Well, I think that we'd have to try and figure out the best way for everybody that works. We have not set up a definitive time. And it might be that different people,
It's almost like you're trying to make it fit with your schedule. Just saying.
I think even Councilman Morris had suggested that we maybe look at even having some of the liaisons, so that was a dual purpose.
Did we just get thrown under the bus?
No, I did. No, but no, it has a benefit.
We did discuss it while when we were
We
the
did.
process of choosing a company.
When we weren't here.
No, when we were trying to choose a company, we did discuss.
We just threw that out, and I'm just, all I'm doing is throwing it out.
Just kidding.
Not throwing you under, she's throwing it out.
It's a great idea.
And and the same deal is all I was looking for this month is a directive to yourself and the other boards to start looking into to assigning someone. You don't have to do it tonight, but basically a directive to yourselves, the ARB and the Planning Commission to do those.
Right. Well, it seems like it does make sense to use the liaisons, and then we'll go ahead and give a directive to the committees to put this on their agenda and then put together a date. Yeah. Okay.
Sir, the liaisons would eventually mean 3 members of council. One from the town council, one from the ARB, one from the planning commission. So that's 3 members of
But
council.
we're both council members.
But there are 3, so there would be 3 council members.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and
that-
of course, it'd be a meeting that we would advertise and have minutes, and it's done.
Well, I suggest you think about it and bring it up next month,
There you go, I like that answer.
Okay.
so that people can think about what their schedules look like, and that kind of thing, and whether or not the liaisons actually do want to do it.
Because you might bring it to the various committees, and someone on the committee may decide, you know what, I would want to sit on it. The ARB or PC, maybe someone from that committee may decide to want to sit on it.
Okay.
So what I was looking for is the directive for you guys to appoint yourselves to do that at a future date, future meeting.
Okay.
So when in your brain would these meetings start? Like,
I would think that if we come to you at the beginning of September and we have a kickoff meeting shortly afterwards, it might be beneficial to start it then, and so mid-September.
about after Haymarket Day?
Yes, works. I think that everybody's going to, in reality, like I said, by the time I come here and we have to schedule a kickoff meeting, yes, I think that after Haymarket Day would be doable.
Good. Okay.
She's in.
Okay. All right,
So I'm looking for the directive.
That's it.
that's it.
You got it?
Yep,
Okay.
Directed.
There was two more things I wanted to bring up to you after after I wrote my engineer's report. When we had the citizen complaints about the traffic on Fayette Street, Jefferson Street, Fayette Street, Ms. Turner, I did reach out to VDOT about doing some traffic calming and/or centerline striping and edge striping. And I did finally hear back from them, and there's a manual put out by the Federal Highway Administration called the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or MUTCD, and that dictates what you can and cannot do. And the traffic volumes and widths do not support the centerline striping. And so not only will VDOT not do it, they will not allow us to do it either. However, what they did say they would do is install chevrons, which are the arrows, at the church and just before Jefferson Street at the second curve. So that's what they can do regarding that curve, but they can't do the centerline striping and edge
So
marking.
no speed bumps, no.
We can continue to, I had asked for any traffic calming measures, but specifically the striping, so I can always try and circle back with them some more.
I mean, they did put one on Jefferson, so.
Maybe no right-hand turns through traffic. I mean, because it obviously is, it appears that people are just trying to cut the light. So,
No, and that portion, if I'm correct, is already
certain
a
times.
no-through truck traffic route.
yeah, but it's the,
So I don't know that you can necessarily bar regular people saying, it's a public road. But I can continue to work with them on that. I just did want to give you the results of not only will they not do the striping, we cannot do the striping.
Before you go any further, I like the initiative that you're taking on it, and maybe piggyback on to see if they'll even allow
The speed bump.
speed bump. But
Okay.
I like the initiative you're taking.
Okay.
Speed table. Make it a table, make it big.
Yeah, they put a bunch of those in my neighborhood. I hate them.
What about,
They work, but they do work. I will definitely say that they work. It just, to go in and out of my neighborhood, I have to hit 17, like go in and come back, I hit 17. Right, or no, it's an even number, so 16. I was like, that's just
That's a lot.
crazy. I got a big neighborhood, but. The other thing that I brought up with them is to do at least a crosswalk in Washington Street at St. Paul Drive, which is called a mid-block crossing. And they said they do not recommend the installation of a crosswalk since there's no receiving ramp. They will not install a ramp there, but the town can put it like on the north side of the road or on the westbound side, but there's no ramp on that side. They did say they weren't going to put one in, but if the town wanted to put one in, I can coordinate with their permanent manager to do that.
And then we could go back for the crosswalk.
And then we'd go back and ask for a crosswalk.
we were looking at, and spoke to Supervisor Canlin, he had some money set aside. I think that if we could put a couple of these things together, there's one right there at Green Hill Crossing that, of course, now with the new business across the street, it's constant traffic
Or at
trying to go
Part of
across.
the problem with doing that crossing at this time is that in order to have a crosswalk, you have to have a receiving crosswalk. And there's no receiving crosswalk on the QBE side of the road.
Well, that's what he was looking to.
well, wait a minute,
to-
what
to
about on
add.
Blight? What about the new setup at Blight? I mean, I understand it's not at a roadway on the Haymarket Station side, but can you do a curb cut there and go across the Blight?
They are doing a curb cut there already because there's also going to be a pad for a bus stop. So they're putting the handicap ramp
That's
on
on
their
the Blight
side.
side. I'm talking
here on
on,
this-
on the other side of Washington, on the south side, to do a crosswalk maybe at Blight. If you can't do it at Green Hill, can you do it at Blight?
There's something that we could look at. You'd have to, if I'm correct, the sidewalk's backing up, you'd have to do like a connection. But I have the feeling it would be the same deal. Yes, they won't say no, but we'd have to do it at our expense.
Right.
And then come back and ask for the crosswalk.
We can
Do you
always
have any
ask.
idea what kind of expense that would be?
Shouldn't be.
I'm just,
I mean, it's going to have to be
I'm going to throw out
engineered, right?
5,000. I'm going to throw out 5,000.
Probably have to be engineered and everything. Right. See, that's,
They technically do need to be engineered because what happened is with the ADA regulations,
right.
what happens at Giuseppe's started happening all over the state where if it wasn't thoroughly engineered, it was ponding water. So now they do make them be engineered out. You have to have them surveyed and have all these elevations on them.
What about,
Don't feel bad, it's not just at Giuseppe's that happens.
Everywhere.
just circle back to Fayette, what about stop signs on Fayette? We have an intersection, or just a three-point intersection. Can that be done?
Same deal, I can ask.
Yeah?
I mean, there's no harm in asking.
You know, what is that, the Colonel's house? Is that the Colonel's house and the roadway? Payne Lane?
Some four-way stop there?
Or three, is it a four-way there?
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
maybe.
You're not slowing them down that much with the stop sign.
It's something.
No, if they're going to go fast, they're going to go fast past that point, and you've just irritated them.
I hope so.
I mean,
Seriously, we've got to do something about slowing them down. And that will slow them down, and otherwise they'll have a moving violation.
We do
Well,
random
and that's the
safety checks.
other recommendation, is that if it's truly a speeding problem, then higher enforcement is, and that's also going to be VDOT's recommendation.
Waiting for him to get up. We're like, come on.
I'm only going to say that it's been studied by multiple entities and studied a variety of ways by multiple entities, and speed has not been identified as a problem.
Okay.
The 85 percentiles are relatively low. The road itself just, quite honestly, isn't conducive to high speeds or the sorts of speeds that you would feel comfortable writing a summons for taking to court. You could go there and you could write a summons for 3 miles over the speed limit. I don't know how well a judge would view that once it got to court. And that's sort of the rub there is that in some ways the road design is somewhat uncomfortable even for a 25-mile-an-hour speed zone, particularly where it narrows from being relatively wide. But the speed surveys that have gone on historically haven't shown that raw speed's an issue.
I think there's also a psychological issue here, because when you're heading south and the church parking is right there, it looks like a wide boulevard. And I think people tend to go fast. If that were grass and curbed up to that point, I think people would slow down because they've got to negotiate the turn. I have actually seen cars spin out in that gravel area
I believe that.
at the church. I don't know if we could talk to the church about they would have to give up that parking, but I think that is just a factor that, allows people to cut that curve.
And that's actually kind of what I was going for with the striping, is because when you have no striping on a road and you're on a sharp curve, you drive everywhere. And the second you put in the lines, people will tend to stay in their lanes, and I was kind of sad to see that we couldn't do that.
Can I bring up one more sidewalk, as long as we're talking sidewalks? With Chick-fil-A opening up, now you got a new thing to walk across the street for. And there's not a safe way to walk on that side of the street to it. And you're taking your life in your hands when you're crossing from the grocery store.
Yep.
Do it every day.
And it'd be a long crosswalk, but can we put one there, or can we do something there, or?
She's going to tell you that they're doing something with the DDI.
Yeah, as part of both the Sheets Sheets is going to take the sidewalk. They're going to build a brick sidewalk across their frontage where there's currently not one, up to the intersection, actually outside their property, even into the VDOT right-of-way. And as part of the VDOT project, they're going to put the crosswalk in and the handicap ramp. So it's in the works.
Also, the fairgrounds rezoning that's coming through, we had talked about, well, first of all, that's to be an signalized intersection, not the entrance at the McDonald's, but the entrance, the other side of the parking lot next to Foster's. And we've asked them to consider putting in a Washington Street crosswalk there as well. So they'll have the light, and they'll also have the crosswalk there. That's obviously 12 to 18 months away.
At least we're going
But, yes. So.
Okay.
Yep. And the only last thing is the concrete way that they did the curb into Route 55.
Are you talking about Blake Drive?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they actually brought the apron.
Yeah, that was part of that plan is not only are they supposed to take the curb around, but they are supposed to be putting a concrete pad back there as a bus stop for the children. That's what, because they had to do a sidewalk all the way down to Washington Street, and they've done that.
You looked at that. It's okay what they've done?
I haven't looked closely. I wasn't 100% sure. I knew that they had did it, but,
It just doesn't look natural. I mean, it
There's a
looks like.
lip there.
it
okay,
looks like-
I will take a double, I wasn't sure by your email what you were
Yes.
talking about. So I will go back and take another look at that.
I'll add my untrained eye, it looks like they haven't done the finish coat, so they did the patch when they cut in the curb and gutter.
Right.
They're on bond, and they'll have to come back in and tie that. So
Oh,
you're
are you talking about next to the road and the curb? They've got a lip there?
Correct.
Oh, that's natural.
Is in Route 55.
Yeah.
The concrete work is in 55.
So the radius of the curb is actually coming out into Washington Street, and there's about 1.5 inch lip of
Okay.
concrete where they haven't done the final.
And that will remain until the final coat, because whenever when you put in curb like that, they wait until the very end after construction traffic vehicles are finished using the road, and they put the final asphalt layer on. Because if you put it on sooner,
Hide the curb into the white line. So the curb comes right to the white line versus giving you, a few inches, 4, 5, 6 inches.
that would be the natural way to do that as well, because that's where the edge line is, and that's what that curb is supposed to be demarking, is the edge of the travel way. So you tie edge of travel way to edge travel way.
It sounds like when they restripe the road, that road's never been curbed and guttered, so they just come out and 6 inches off the edge of pavement, run that white stripe. So it sounds like that white stripe has always been run a little bit wider than the actual right-of-way per our streetscape plans, and the curb and gutter is being put in to our streetscape plans. So
Well,
it's,
and you actually are supposed to have a foot beyond the white line, 6 inches to a foot, because otherwise, if you have traffic traveling right on the edge of pavement, it will crumble. So you always are supposed to have the white line, not on the direct where the asphalt ends, but you're supposed to have it inside. And once again, that curb is supposed to tie into where the white line is, where the edge of the travel way
so it
is.
sounds like we may have to talk to them about moving that striping back out, because right now, I understand the concern is your eye naturally takes you over the edge, and you're clipping that edge of that curb.
The fact that there's, a good 12 inches of concrete that is now in the pathway of Route 55.
I'll go and look at it again, because I don't think I'm visualizing what you're saying.
Right.
To me, if that concrete comes up to the edge of the white line,
No,
that's what
no,
it's supposed
no,
to be.
It's come
Okay.
12 inches into the asphalt, into the roadway.
Inside of the white line?
Inside the roadway, correct.
Okay. I will definitely go take a look at that.
I'm not sure if they have the room to maybe even move the yellow line a little bit to the south. I'm not sure what the standard is there, what the width is. in feet.
Usually it's 12 to 14-foot width lanes.
It should be a 12-foot lane. That was never part of anybody, no one had ever identified having to make the roadway wider there.
So,
All right.
But I will go and look and see what the issue is with the curb. And if it goes inside of the white line, then that's bad.
well, that was my suggestion, is maybe it's paved too wide, and they have to maybe stripe it, bring it back out so that's narrower. So,
Okay. Any other?
Yes, and the very last thing is, I think everyone's made aware of the Cat Harpin Bridge closure that will be happening this week. One of the reasons, just to let you know that they're doing that, is because the I-66 widening project is supposed to be substantially complete by the end of this month. And in order to try and go in and knock stuff out, they are allowing them to try the closure, but they will be monitoring traffic, local traffic, and if it becomes a problem, they'll figure out something else.
My only suggestion is that signage is saying Cat Harpin to close, and then gives the two dates, which gives you the appearance that Cat Harpin Road is closing, which I think if they would replace to say Cat Harpin Bridge close, it would give people the proper perspective of, oh, wait a minute, the bridge is closing. So Cat Harpin to close.
Well, they are closing part of Cat Harpin, not just at the bridge. It'll be open to local traffic and emergency vehicles. But what it is they want people to stay on Heathcote to use the detour.
Yeah.
If you think about it, if you turn down and start to go on Cat Harpin Road, you'd have to make a U-turn to go back and use the detour. So that's actually the appropriate language. Local people will still be able to get in. You can't deny people getting to their houses.
Right.
But they want people to stay on Heathcote.
So the bridge will be closed during that period of
The
time.
bridge itself will be closed. The detour will keep people on Heathcote over to the 29 interchange and then back onto 55. So while it's just the bridge, the detour will tell people not to go on Cat Harpin at all.
Okay. All right. Sure.
Holly, any update on the bridge here at Carolina, Old Carolina? As far as, do they have an end date to when?
That's one thing. Substantial completion is supposed to be the end of this month for that project. So, I mean, I can still see them doing some punch-out stuff like the lights and stuff like that. When they say substantial completion, it means all roadways are supposed to be open.
It just seems like the cleanup with that, it's, you know, they've got weeds growing 3 foot high, the gravel, there's no dirt. I saw the streetlight stuff happening today, but just
Part of
looks
that
bad.
is that I have no doubt they will do the cleanup, but they're concentrating so they don't get, I can't even imagine what their liquidated damage penalties are. They are going to be concentrating on getting what done for the major items that they have to be done so they don't get hit with those. And then I could see them doing cleanup afterwards.
Yeah, maybe if we just bring it to their attention, that something they're, I'm sure, already aware.
I brought it to their attention before.
Yeah.
When the grass grew too high, they came out and cut it.
Yeah.
So, and then same thing with the dirt. They always told me they'll get back to it. Over by the, what is that one business? It's just escaping my mind. At the end of the bridge? Yeah, Details for the Home.
Right.
One time that was looking really bad, and it's like, we'll get to it, we promise. It's just low on the priorities.
Anything further?
Nope, that's it.
All right, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item, our building officials report on page 32. There's no questions for staff. We'll continue on.
Is Marchant going to do the blight ordinance? Are we going to talk about that tonight, or no? Has there been a,
Mr. Mayor? Yeah, we can.
Yes.
When we go to his report.
Which report first?
yeah, I was just curious,
Yes.
because that was on Joe's report, but Marchant was going to address that.
Next, our
Mr. Mayor, before you move on, sir,
Absolutely.
do you think there is any benefit in the building official doing his report very similar to the way how the town planner does his, in keeping a track of things over a period of time, especially things that are still open? We're venturing into a very sensitive season with looking for a new town manager, and just that manager coming on board, you know, being abreast and having the knowledge of things that have been going on for a period of time.
keeping an active to-do list.
Yes.
And yeah, I think that would be really beneficial. We'll have staff. Jen, if you could have, or that's right, if we could just have Joe, or Sherry's here, I'm sorry. Sherry, if we can have Joe do that. Yeah, okay, great.
Got it? Thank you.
All right. Okay, all right. Next up, police report. Chief Nimble.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Town Council. Since we're already on the topic, I will tell you that one of the police department's yield to pedestrian signs, impermanent sign, may have migrated down to Washington and Green Hill for a little bit. Hopefully DDOT won't be too upset about that, but we can always move it. It seemed an expeditious way to address an issue that our officers are identifying already as being dangerous. So, again, we can always change locations if we have to. Nonetheless, getting back on point for our report, we did have a number of, I think, unusual incidents in town in the month of June. The first was an embezzlement, felony in nature, because it was over $200, and it was one of our businesses on the west end of town. And quite honestly, they almost had the case wrapped up for us by the time we were called. They knew an ex-employee had embezzled money, and the ex-employee had virtually admitted to it, so it was really a relatively routine case for us. But nonetheless, I think the first of those that I've seen since I've been here in Haymarket. The second was also unusual in that a resident in the Green Hill Crossing neighborhood reported that their vehicle had been stolen overnight. Yet again, a crime that I had not yet seen in my tenure here in Haymarket. And typically, when you see something unusual like that, you start looking for some explanations besides the fact that the car may have actually been stolen. And sure enough, after I think some very good police work and some assistance from Prince William County Police Department, we determined that one of the juvenile sons of the resident had actually taken the car, drove it to Woodbridge, crashed it, and then got back home, and afterwards the car was reported stolen. So, again, a relatively easy case to close, but unusual for the town. More typically, we did have a number of narcotics arrests, all of which were a result of traffic stops, all of which, interestingly, were relatively young people, 19 to 22 years old. Lastly, a DUI arrest I put in there only because it speaks to the day-to-day dangers our officers face. In this case, one of our officers was detailed to the construction project at Route 15 and 66 overnight, assisting with lane closures, and this drunk driver almost struck our officer. And another officer was able to get him stopped, and sure enough, they were driving under the influence of alcohol, so the arrest was made. We did have one other incident. This actually occurred this month, but I think it's probably timely to mention it because it involves some people here in the room. And that was on July 21st at about 11 o'clock in the morning. We had a pretty significant natural gas leak at Sheetz, and it required a lot of teamwork to notify people and develop an evacuation zone. And it extended assistance-wise to folks far outside of the Haymarket Police Department. And I just think it's important to recognize a couple people here tonight who assisted. And the first was our town clerk, Jennifer Preli. Our treasurer, also, Sherry Wilson, was of great assistance. My assistant, Donna Knupp, also helped out. It was Officer O'Neill's call who did, I think, a very good job managing the scene from a police department perspective. And Prince William also was outstanding. Sergeant Mackling, Officers Manzing, and Robinson also contributed. And those can having experienced some relatively chaotic events because you're trying to coordinate a unified message and create an evacuation zone. And they did a very good job with that. So definitely worth mentioning, even though it's sort of out of order for this report. Looking at some of our traffic data, the month of June was characterized by 3 crashes in town. None of them were severe, and compared particularly to last year, we're still trending a little bit below, which is good given the traffic volume and the volume of construction we have in and around town. We maintain sort of a steady, I think, amount of traffic enforcement in terms of total summons issued. Year to date, it's at 672, which was about 119 summons issued for the month of June. The character of those summons, again, is exactly what I think we want them to be, particularly with the speeding enforcement. And as we've talked about in the past, the vast majority of the speeding enforcement that we see is in our reduced speed zones, which, again, is exactly where we want it. We did have a couple of events that we participated in with the public. Probably the 2 most rewarding of those were both Officer Davis and Officer O'Neill helped at separate times with ceremonies for Corporal Dandria, one at QBE and one at his new residence. We also received our $2,000 grant from Norfolk Southern Railroad in the month of June, which was greatly appreciated. And lastly, we did assist in the Health and Fitness Fair, which, again, by all the feedback I got from the police department personnel, was a very successful event. We do have a couple of current initiatives, not the least of which is it's time to do employee evaluations. And every full-time employee in the police department, I have completed an annual evaluation, and I have already met with slightly less than half of them to go over those evaluations and sort of structure a plan of where we want to go individually in this coming fiscal year or evaluation period. Also, we are in our final preparations for National Night Out, and if you don't remember, that is tomorrow night from 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock. And we have a lot of, I think, great partners in that. The state police are going to do a lot of work, Prince William County Police Department. Fire rescue has been very responsive in terms of wanting to participate, so the weather's going to be good, so we'll certainly have a good event.
Where is that going to be?
That'll be right here. Lastly, I know we already talked about it, but it I think, is worth reiterating that Chick-fil-A was I think, very forward-leaning in reaching out to us before their ribbon cutting and grand opening. And certainly they've done however many thousands of these, so they seem to have it well in hand. But they were very clear that they would like to have an officer overnight, both of the nights before the grand opening. And so we had them sign one of our standard off-duty employment contract forms, and we've already filled that position. So we will have an officer dedicated overnight both nights, while, as Town Council Member Lee noted, the tailgating occurs. Mm-hmm. With that, if you have any questions.
Chief, I'm just curious if you have a plan of what you're going to spend the grant money on.
We are going to use it for some joint training with Norfolk Southern. And I know we've talked about this before, but particularly with the use of force training this agency has gone through in the past and its use of force judgment training, there is incredible room there to improve upon. And that bit of funding will allow us to do some work that we just haven't been able to afford in the past. And although I couldn't use that funding to directly roll back into Norfolk Southern, having their local law enforcement representative join us in the training was an acceptable alternative, and it actually serves, I think, as a great opportunity to have a chance to train with him directly because parts of his jurisdiction run right through Haymarket, and it's not such a bad thing to have some interoperability with him, particularly at the personal level.
Thank you.
Any other comments for the chief?
Just one more, sir. The incident that we had on July 21st, was there anything that you highlighted? First of all, thank you for recognizing those individuals that helped to make it a success. Did you highlight anything in particular that we could improve on?
The one that strikes me, and I come from a jurisdiction where this was standard, and that is a program called Reverse 911. When I first came here, I asked about that, and quite honestly, I don't think people even knew what I was talking about. So if Prince William County has Reverse 911, then we've never had access to it, and I'm not sure that they do. And for the uninitiated, Reverse 911 allows you to open up a map, and you can draw any boundary that you want on that map. And any phone number that's in 911 inside of that map will give a robocall. It will get a robocall. You record whatever you want that call to be, and then it will call every single number in the 911 system inside of that geographical area that you have highlighted. And you can zoom that map in. You can highlight a single side of a cul-de-sac. If you want to call 3 houses, you could call 3 houses. But we don't have it, and I'm not sure that Prince William has it. But we need, if they do, we need to find a way where in this evolving, uncertain situation, we can get access to it. If not, then we should find a way to get it.
That's good observation.
It will make this incredibly easy in terms of getting the word out when you need to get the word out very quickly.
What is the cost associated with this Reverse 911?
I do not have a clue.
I believe it's tied into the 911 system, so Prince William County would have to be involved in some manner.
I would, again, it could be a bad assumption on my part. I would have assumed that they have it.
I have never received a call in the 20 years that I've lived.
Yeah.
So
I would think having a train track run through town that could have a derailment with chemicals or something, that could be a very handy thing to have.
There would be no easier way to get that message out. Mm-hmm. So, and again, it's been on my mind. I just haven't pursued it, but this could be a good motivator to pursue it, and I'll start making some calls and find out.
Okay, good. All right, John. Thank you.
Other questions for the chief?
How many county units do we plan to have on Haymarket Day? I know we'll have all hands on deck on our side, but do you have a rough number of what you're trying to get, and are they?
If we followed the pattern that we did last year, it will be 6 in the morning and 6 in the afternoon, plus 2 sheriff's office and at least 1 state trooper.
And that's on top of our gentleman?
Yes.
Excellent.
And we'll have communication with the EOC like we did in
Yes.
years past? Okay.
Is it possible that we would post, and I know you have a layout and you have you've drafted and designed the security. Is it possible? Because one of the things I noticed, I think 2 years ago, was we had our officers outside at the town limits holding line. And it would be good if they were the ones inside the town, mingling with the people and meeting the residents and having that interaction. I know you probably thought of it before. Because, you tried to keep a step ahead. But
Well, a couple of observations I have from last year's plan, and granted, I think last year's plan was a little more complicated only because the layout was different. I think it's a little bit easier this year. But there were some posts that I wasn't sure why they were there. And again, when I look at it, I can't find a reason why, and there wasn't anything in the debrief that explained it. So what we could do, given the same amount of manpower, and I think we probably will, is decrease the number of posts, fixed posts that there are, and that would allow for more rotation. Because I agree, and for a different reason, I think I like the idea of officers moving through the crowds. I think from a security perspective, that's very good.
Very important.
Okay.
That's good. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? All right, great. Thank you, sir. Next up, planners report. Mr. Marchant. On page 37 of our packet, or 7F.
First, I'll take any immediate questions on the report.
Okay.
Really?
Yes. No, I have some.
Oh, okay.
Any word on Village of Haymarket Phase 2, when they intend to build the 3 other houses?
No, but my guess would be after they sell the first 2. And they did go ahead and finish. They did some erosion sediment control in the back, dug the swale, put in the sidewalk. There's a missing link now between the edge of those 5 lots and Dogwood Park. They had a utility pole that was in the way. I sense that they're going to go ahead and stabilize the site, finish the curb and gutter, utility installation, and stop until they sell those 2 houses, raise the capital, and then move with the rest. So I'm still going to be curious as to if someone will pay that price point. They're mid $400,000 right now.
Really?
So
Let's hope they go for that.
Yep.
yeah, so improve all our house values, but that seems to be a high price point. So, but I am pleased to see that they put in this curb and gutter and sidewalk. I talked to some of the neighbors behind there, and they said they're pleased to have that safe path and travel way, especially for the kids once the school year starts again.
Yep. That's good.
Just one more. Could you expound a little bit on I think it's a rezoning, the Dog's Day Out?
Yes, sir.
What's in the works right now because we met with them last month.
Correct.
And they were on hold because we wanted to review it some more. I think that was the decision that was.
Planning Commission.
It was sent to the Planning Commission. The commission actually held a meeting the following night. The applicant, to their credit, had a full PowerPoint presentation answering the 12 or so questions that the residents had with regards to traffic, noise, lighting, access. They provided a pretty robust response. The commission asked them to go back and do some more work on the design. There were some concerns about separating the dogs and any outdoor run areas from the residents on the north side of their property line. They'll be back. As a matter of fact, I did hear from them earlier today. They'll be back at the Planning Commission next week on August 10th. Again, further explaining their proposal, some of the additional details. I believe they're going to agree to proffer out certain uses that people found objectionable on Fayette Street and provide some other details they're willing to commit to. So I think they're hoping that the commission will move it forward next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
So now the one question, the blight.
Blight, the blight ordinance. So, well, first of all, I need to apologize. Someone put a call out, was I MIA? Missing in action for about 2 weeks. I was between various conferences and other personal issues. I was out for a while, but we adopted the blight ordinance. I worked with the mayor to send kind of the first sortie to Stan Smith, who owns Payne Lane across the street, outlining we had adopted the ordinance. It was done in part because of the number of complaints and interests that we've had from the community and its businesses. Also offered that we were disappointed that a lot of the redevelopment plans didn't move forward, but given the weather conditions over the wintertime, it's just something needs to be done. That we were going to come up or coordinate with the building inspector, Joe Barbo, to go through the property, provide an inspection report, and come up with a remediation plan. So we're still feeling our way through how to apply the new ordinance. I know Martin's had some experience in Manassas with it. Joe Barbo forwarded me a draft, which I believe I owe two of you a copy of that draft, outlining the condition of each building and recommending a remediation. So I'm going to meet with him on site. We're going to correct some citations to some of the buildings, take some additional photographs. Did talk with the mayor yesterday about coming up with some immediate work before Haymarket Day. That is removing all the overgrowth and trees and other trash and debris from the site. Also painting or maintaining those buildings that occupants are still in, which is the Gossam House on the corner, the accounting office right next to it, and then Fred's Garage is actually still being used to have those facades cleaned and improved and painted before Haymarket Day, because it's really quickly becoming a detractor, more so than it has in the past. Also talking about Eddie Gossam's paving, which is run by Eddie Playtez. He's starting to spread more of his equipment and materials across the site, and talking with him and perhaps phasing out that use on the property and come up with some other interim uses. So have not moved as fast as we'd like, but I'm setting up a meeting with Joe next week to go over a more specific remediation plan. But we did give him some directive between now and Haymarket Day. Yes, sir.
You said that you notified the owner of the new blight ordinance. Any feedback from the owner on that
I'll let
notification?
the mayor step in on that.
He wants the plan. Just tell me what I need to do. So we kind of laid it out actually this weekend of the steps. You need to immediately remove all the commercial vehicles, the construction vehicles, the debris, the stockpiling of materials. And
The
so
bottom line
all
is,
this
he seems
He's receptive.
possibly
receptive. Yes. We also mentioned that the business there is not conducive for this zoning of this parcel. He needs to be in an industrial location. We have had a good dialogue since we've sent that. We have not spoke to him since sent that on Sunday, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah.
So we'll work with Martin and Joe to put a more robust plan together. So
When's your meeting with Joe next week?
he and I have not set the actual date, but I'll send it out and let you know.
And can you send me the draft of
Sure.
what Joe has already?
You had asked for that before. I'll just ask there's some incorrect citations in there. It is a draft.
It's a draft.
So just make sure it's draft all over it. So, okay. A couple other things I'm sorry, any other questions about the blight ordinance? So,
Just I think it probably failed to mention the ARB looked at the homes and decided 4 out of the 7 that they would give their blessing once submitted for a demolition permit.
correct. In defense of the ARB, they really looked at the practical ways that property would be redeveloped, and the general consensus is you can't keep all the structures that are there. So it was kind of a phased approach, similar to what they had done at Harover, which was a lot of the interior buildings need to go, what we call the stone house, with the roof is gone. There's a bunch of sheds that are scattered throughout the property. The only structures that are considered contributing are the Gossam House, which is on the corner, right here. Call it the Butler House, which is on the corner of Payne Lane and Jefferson, and the Colonel's house on the corner. The rest of them are not considered contributing structures. You still want to document them. They are part of the town's history. That accounting office used to be a radio shop. At one point, it was the Bell telephone switch. So there's some intrinsic things that need to be documented as part of it. I think the ARB is sensing that, yeah, this is not going to be practical. Also offering some incentives would, if you turn it into a condo space, let's say you carved out the Colonel's house, so to speak, carved it out as part of a condo space, gave it to someone for $1 and said, you have a year to bring that building up to code, and any profit you make is all yours. Tax incentives. Coming up with, there was some talk about doing some public facilities parking. So yes, I think the ARB is more than willing to work with them on doing that, but gave some initial reaction. I think the original last plan that came through was going to incorporate the Butler House on the corner. So I'm sorry, did that answer the question about it? So
Okay.
ARB gets given a hard time sometimes, but I think they do think outside the box. So we covered the blight ordinance. We've already talked about Chick-fil-A. I did want to talk, so the furniture, we haven't talked about that yet. The outdoor furniture was delivered to the Hariver or the community park, and a local church group went out and put all those together. If you have a chance to go up there right now, the benches are seated at the Well House as if it's a church for the Ode to the Well House. But if you have a chance to go up there, they're extremely heavy. They're repurposed plastic tables and chairs. You may have noticed we positioned 2 of the tables out front. What I was going to suggest we do is align the benches and tables along the lines of what the master plan shows, which is some benches around the perimeter where the multi-purpose trail will go, and some shaded areas around the front for the tables. So we'll be recruiting some folks to go move that. Again, they're heavy, which thankfully they won't be stolen, but they're really hard to move.
In regards to that, Marchant, when we met with the Haymarket Day Committee, we were actually wanting to reach out to you, and so this will be the time to reach out to you. In regards to getting that master plan, can you provide us with that to where we can most utilize those benches as well as those picnic tables, so we only have to move them once and we can move them there before Haymarket Day?
Yeah, the plan's on the website.
Okay.
But we can get you a larger, it may not be implicit where it's on the website, but we can show it to you and get that plan out in 11 by 17 format.
Perfect.
So with Haymarket Day as well, as I'm taking my planner hat off. As a resident of Longstreet Commons, we've got a lot of ripe volunteers to go and engage, so I would encourage all of you to go out and not get the usual suspects. Know a bunch of young parents and stuff like that I can guilt into trying to help that day. So I know Denise is going to need quite a bit of help.
I signed you up for the 5 o'clock.
You did?
Yeah.
I dragged you out last time.
Yeah. I was there before you. But Denise is...
So I think we have a lot of untapped volunteerism, and I think that's a good gateway into getting them hopefully interested in what the town's doing, have some ownership of it, and hopefully see that change on some of the committees.
Get some signs, too.
McDonald's. The Lee Berries had approached the town about traffic at McDonald's. The particular concern, they have a easement or a lease agreement with Food Lion and the tenants of the shopping center that if traffic backs up on Washington or there's a challenge in the entrance into, the first entrance into the drive-through at McDonald's, that if a third party, either VDOT or the town or the police step in and indicate that there's an issue with traffic being backed up there, that if we were to that entity or that third-party entity was to put together a letter to that effect, the Lee Berries, along with the Food Line, would approach the McDonald's about closing that entrance. Sorry, that was a long sentence. So if you can picture in your mind, there's 2 entrances when you get into McDonald's. So I did touch base with Chief Noble about observing the traffic patterns throughout the day. The last time we spoke to the Lee Berries about a year and a half ago, the bridge was still underway. McDonald's has been closed on 29. There's a lot of reason why we might have seen that high volume traffic. Obviously, with the interchange going, we're still seeing that. So I'm going to work with Chief to monitor that situation, take some photographs, some documentation, and if there is a clear issue or a pattern, we'll put that in a summary and send it on to the Lee Berries so they can use it as they wish. So I'll obviously coordinate with Martin for that. So food pantry, there was reference to me helping the food pantry earlier. What I helped with them was establishing, and this was on my own time, but for them putting together what they call a warm lit shell. If they were to get a raw piece of land, how would they be able to establish that? So you'll see in the outline that was passed out to you. So hopefully they can use that in any situation that they get into. So, okay, all over.
On that note, sorry to, but that's a good way how a town employee, even in his own time, reached out and helped, an organization that was looking for help, because I don't know if they could have afforded the expertise that you offered. I don't think they could have afforded it. So what you did was great.
It's just the language, the lingo. In any industry, there's the lingo, so I just gave them the right words to be able to describe what they were trying to do.
A
So
quick
thank you.
question on that.
Sure.
Not that I've cut through their land to get over to Haymarket Motors, but I've been told it's a bit moist back there, and there's evidence of water flow. Would you want to build there?
So that's a long, deep lot, and on the backside, they're actually in the 100-year floodplain.
Yeah.
So there's only a small part of the property that would be developable for that. And any sheet flow or water that was redirected with that development, they'd have to address.
Okay.
But that was one of their concerns right off the bat, is how developable is that lot. The other linchpin in the whole situation, that's a private access easement to get to Washington Street, through to the rear ice rink, and down to Durham's property. And if the parties to that easement aren't agreeable, there's no way to get to the site. And the general agreement was that any facility would not be accessed via Fayette. It would have to be back through the backside. So it's not a done deal. There's a number of impediments that they'll have to get through.
Are you familiar, she mentioned about another parcel in town that they were looking at as well, for about through the Ruritans, which I knew there was one on Route 15, but I wasn't aware.
I'm not familiar with that either. I'd have to talk with Eileen, which property. People still think that Walmart's in town, so it may be a question of people not just understanding the jurisdictional boundaries of the town.
Right.
I will reach out and talk to which lot they're looking at. So, okay, what that comes down to is I have an announcement. I have accepted a management position at Loudoun County, which will take away my ability to dedicate time for the planner position. It's been a challenge the last couple of years. I first got started helping the town 8 years ago. And matter of fact, I left Prince William County at Woodbridge when I was 18 and vowed I would never come back. Joined the military and showed up back here in 2004. And I felt like I've had a connection to the town through informal family relationships. It was interesting. I was with my daughter in the museum a couple weeks ago, pillaging. I'm always bringing things to Denise to put in the museum. We actually came across a Marchant calculator. I didn't realize that Marchants developed calculators. So I've always felt a tie, and I've talked to you, many of you, about my passion. So I certainly intend to continue to be a part of the town. I do have a suggestion, though. Right now we have an on-call planning service called from the Berkeley Group. They run what they call an auxiliary town hall. One of the challenges I've always had is how, if you were to make this a full-time position, you'd either have to recruit. What kind of quality of planner would you be able to get in that position based on what you'd be able to pay and the nature of the work? Auxiliary town hall, they provide staffing. When you think about it, when I first started, I was a contractor, so you didn't require to pay me any fringe benefits. It was simply a warm body that came in and did the work. I have not had the advantage of being dedicated any daytime. It's mostly intermittent. So what this service allows you to do is as many times or many days as you want during the week, they can come in have someone with considerable experience and be able to conduct that daily business. That's one of the biggest complaints that we've had about my arrangement, is that people not having a warm body to talk to during the day. I spoke with Darren, the leader of the group. I actually was an intern under him in Blacksburg, and he mentioned that their program is within existing budgets. So when I told them the money that you have budgeted for my position already, they felt they could provide that service 1 to 2 days a week within that budget. And certainly I'm not going anywhere with the institutional knowledge that I've gained to be able to transfer that over. So without objection, I'll have Darren go ahead and provide the mayor and the vice mayor some more details about how that might work. What that means is I probably officially want to hand over responsibilities end of October. And I'll also be interested in if there's availability on the ARB or the Planning Commission. I would like to maybe transfer my role to that. So, again, I'll be around, not going anywhere. It's hard to get rid of me in that regard.
There's no for sale signs in front of your home.
What's that?
There's no for sale signs.
No, there's no for sale signs in front of my home. I think my children were upset that I was moving away from this position.
Well, there's some nice new homes.
What's that?
There's some nice new homes.
Steve will help.
My lounge job won't even help me pay for those homes. So I appreciate the time and the availability and the trust you've put in me in the position over the years. I do believe there's a benefit to having someone come in and fulfill that, and I think it's probably the right time for someone to come in and do more of a full-time position, especially with where we're going. I do plan to go ahead and help finish out sheets, get you advanced on the rezoning. There's some other minor site plans that I want to get you through So that'll hopefully set us up for an October transition, so.
And fairgrounds?
What's that?
And the fairgrounds?
Fairgrounds will come back in September, and I'll continue to work with Darren. If I have to work past it, just as a kind of institutional knowledge, I'll do that as well. Guy Gravitt's still wanting to resubmit in September.
Oh, good.
The other advantage to that, going back to the Berkeley Group, is they are rewriting our zoning ordinance and our comp plan, so you would have someone in that position that would be able to also be drafting and be familiar with the new ordinances. So they ran this model in Dumfries. They seem to have some success with that. So you've always indulged my rambling very well, so I appreciate you doing that now and be happy to answer any more questions that you have.
Okay.
You always know where home is.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions from Marchant? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we're down to our agenda items. We have page 41 in our packet, a draft budget amendment resolution. Entertain a motion. Was this discussed at all earlier?
Can we just read the resolution?
Sometimes you can, don't need to read it all.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2016-012, fiscal year 2017, budget amendment number 1.
Motion on the floor
I'll second it.
and second it. Discussion. Seemed like there's a little hesitation here. Do we know what we're doing? Discussion on the motion?
Well, let's explain it to the new guy. I'm assuming we have the 225,000 somewhere already, and we're just shifting it into capital fund. And this was the plan all along, that we were going to take the money from our, reserves and move it into. So we're just implementing the plan, right?
Correct. We're not taking the entire amount.
Correct.
We're taking a portion of it. Otherwise, we could do nothing. I mean, right now, we cannot spend any capital at all. That's correct.
Other than the,
Pedestrian improvement.
Correct, but that's
That's a grant.
reimbursable grant.
Okay.
But
So
we can't spend anything unless we do this. And just because we do this doesn't mean we have to spend it.
Right.
It just makes it
Available.
spendable.
Yes. Okay.
so I do have one question, though. Because the numbers have been moving, so we have 697,000 or 30% in reserve. If we take this 225, what does that leave us in unrestricted funds? The last number I saw, July 14th, was like 350. Is it
Yeah.
somewhere in that area, or is it less?
That's a 352,000?
That hasn't changed?
No. Well, we can't, the numbers would change every day with
Yeah.
the 30% funds coming in and out.
Right.
So we can't change the number
But
every
that's,
day, so we had to stick to
so it's just a snapshot.
it's just not true.
And that number may change again when the audit is finished?
No,
No? Okay.
no, because the audit's for last fiscal year.
All right.
Just a follow-up question, sir. So the 352, how does that relate to a 30%? We talked about keeping 30% in reserves.
That's right.
Right, and the 30% is the $697,000.
It's out, the 352 is what's left over. We're moving the proposal by staff is to move the 225,000 over so that in case we have other capital expenditures outside of this pedestrian improvement, we have the money available. That will leave us unrestricted funds of roughly 350,000 that we can tap into later. That's what that 352 is.
But that means we will not have 30% in reserve.
No, we have 30%.
30%
We made sure that
is
we,
already there.
Okay. Right.
This is in addition to that 30%.
Okay.
yeah,
I thought the 30%, this would reduce that.
No.
that
no,
amount.
no,
No.
no, no.
30% was first taken.
That's the
moved,
first cut. That's the first cut.
And then this is the rest of the money after the 30%. And we're only taking 225 and leaving 352 behind.
So the 30% represents just over 600,000?
It's almost 700.
Almost 700,000.
So we have 700,000 plus the 697,000.
No. You have the 697, I rounded to 700,000. So you have roughly 700,000 in reserve. It's restricted. It's part of our fiscal policy. Okay, you can't spend it unless you have an emergency or other non-recurring costs. Then you have what's left over is 225 plus 352 is what? 567, another close to 750 or whatever the number is. So we're taking the 225 out of that remaining amount, and we're putting that into this budget so that we can spend, and we still have another 350 left over in the bank, or roughly 350, for float, for other things that we might need. Okay, so think of it 700,
700 and 575. 700 is restricted, 575 is unrestricted, but we're only taking 225 of the 575,
Okay,
moving it,
okay. That's,
leaving 350, 352 behind to be moved at a future date.
yes, that's what I was getting at. So we do have the 30% one side, and we're taking 225 from another amount,
Correct,
500,000.
correct. Do you concur? Just to make sure we're all on the same
Yeah,
page.
it'd probably be better if we had like a little table that would show it, but make it easier.
Any other questions regarding the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Cole.
Yes.
Edwards. Yes. Lee.
Yes.
Costello.
Aye.
Akins.
Yes.
8B, we've already done. We go over to 8C.
Yeah. The copies are fine. Oh.
I met with the Finance Committee, and they wanted me to prepare something for your review about where we are with the Town Center engineering contract, and what are your options about completion of the project. Are y'all's packets complete? My packet wasn't complete. Okay. Basically, there's 4 options. One is to completely terminate the contract. One is to terminate the site plan portion and continue with the build-out portion. Another option is not to terminate the site plan, but ask RDA to put it on hold and continue with the build-out portion. And option 4 is to continue just as planned with continuing with both the site plan design and the build-out until completion. There's pros and cons associated with each that I tried to outline for you. Staff would recommend moving forward with option 4, which is just to continue, get the design done. You can put it on a shelf, come back at a future date, and just update it. If you don't go with option 4, we'd recommend option 3, not to cancel the contract, but to just ask RDA to put it on hold, knowing that they might ask for more money at new rates if you bring it back up again. But I brought this up more as a discussion item for you guys at this point, about how you want to use your monies moving forward.
Could you give the council just a very brief description of option 4? What is the build-out portion that would be completed in option 4? So, I mean, obviously, the design will be done and put on the shelf, but what additional work would we get build-out-wise?
And I have to be completely honest with you, I did not manage that aspect of the contract, and perhaps I should have looked at it a little closer before coming in. I think the mayor's been involved in some of those discussions. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus.
No, yeah, there were several options for as we designed our, Brian had designed the different phases. I mean, and we obviously felt the immediate need of phase 1 to bring the police department over, but then we realized even in phase 1, there was no thought in making the access from the main entrance. So the whole idea of having a raw entranceway didn't fly. So we added to phase 1 to make at least presentable for the public to come into there. I don't think I've ever been sold on the total design of the complete plan of having a new dais in a phase 3. I think it was. Phase 2 was more making the two work together, and then phase 3 inside was a total redo of the the whole town council chambers. So,
It is my understanding that the architect is working on phase 2 right now. He would not start phase 3 until phase 2 is complete.
yeah, see, I think that what we need to probably do is regroup with this. We need to really look and see what our vision is, if there is a vision of having this whole, going to a phase 3, maybe a phase 2 modified that will allow us to do the outside, maybe wrapping the building finally, getting the outside done and making the entranceway work, or it can work, functionally for the staff.
My recommendation when it comes to the build-out portion, for not talking about the site plan, but the build-out, is even if you're changing in your priorities about what you want to do now, my recommendation is to figure out what you want to do and get that wrapped up in a bow. Because trying to bring in another architect at a future date that's looking at someone else's building plans, that's going to be very hard for someone to delve into. Martin didn't think. I see him shaking his head.
Yeah, that's very costly.
I think the point of what I was trying to get across is that whatever vision you have for the build-out, get that done. And then if you truly have to stop something, the site plan is probably at a better stopping place, because we're trying to get the preliminary plan approved. So that's a good stopping point before you go into the final site plan.
Right.
And that's really the gist of what I wanted to get across to you. That's my opinion. But it's supposed to be an open discussion for you guys to how do you want to move forward?
You had thoughts?
If I understand the two distinct, build-out is the building, correct? The government center.
Right.
Site plan is the horizontal, the parking, landscaping, public space. In my mind, the advantage of, and you'll be looking at the preliminary plan tonight, is going to final site plan does a couple of things. One, as you bring the Connolly project, that Connolly project stops at the edge of Town Hall property. So you'd have this nice pedestrian trail that had this missing link. Allowing you to go to the final engineered plan was if you did not want to build out the whole site, you would just be able to build out that trail out to the corner, having the stormwater and all the other engineering done. That plan also, the Connolly, the final site plan also accommodates a center turn lane on Jefferson Street. So that would allow you to not have to build that sidewalk twice. You'd be able to accommodate that middle turn lane, build the 10-foot multi-purpose trail to Washington Street, and then later phase the rest of the parking, landscaping, public space. The final design also, the final site plan also gets you to harder construction costs. So as if we do get an influx from some of these new businesses in cash and capital, you now have a final plan that's engineered, that's vested for 5 years. That's important. Right now, once the plan's vested, if stormwater management plans change or other things change over time, you have this plan that's approved that you can put on the shelf and then come back and dust off and phase as you feel appropriate. I just hate for us not to get the finish line on the final site plan and then have to regroup on the back end. So that would be my recommendation.
Councilwoman Edwards.
So what is the cost of getting to the final site plan?
The final site, the total outstanding contract that is for build-out and for, what's been approved for build-out and for site plan is $149,000. The final site plan is $84,840, and the build-out is $64,717.
So wait, I'm trying to piece this together.
Yep. Sure.
So let's say we wanted to finish the site plan, that would be $84,000. But the build-out, if we don't want to change this interior yet,
And just do the facade, that
and
would
just
be
do the
less.
facade, that would be, we wouldn't be spending $64,000 if we just held, I mean, this room looks pretty nice to me right now.
Yeah, sure does.
It would be a different negotiated fee for finishing up whatever he's doing now, and then if there's any facade that you're asking for, it'd be a different negotiated fee, less than.
I'm not convinced, I'm confident of what the $64,000 is for. I don't think it's for this area, and that's my concern, is what is.
Okay, I'm guessing that's what it's for.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what it is.
For the engineering,
That was my understanding, but I would have
drawings.
to look at the contract a little closer, and I apologize, because I just was not involved in the build-out portion
Right.
of this contract. I've always been in the site plan.
Our understanding, I thought was, at that stage, we would be able to take these plans to go to bid, to get proposals. So these would be final electrical drawings, everything.
That was what my understanding was.
Yep.
And that's what I'm
So
saying.
that's
I
what
have
you would
not
be getting for that
line by
64,000.
line read the
64
contract.
is a-
For
is
the
a
whole
new
thing.
building.
Wow, for the interior. Phase 2, Phase 3 of the building.
And the site plan is for the
Outside.
parking lot. But is
Correct.
that also the exterior?
Parking lot is not.
No.
I know that the site plan will only
Yeah.
deal with the ground features,
Okay.
and the
You're talking
building
about the facade?
features.
Right.
yeah.
Well, yeah, where does the facade come in?
Nowhere, not in any of this.
Okay, so that's even a third
The architectural
expenditure.
drawings are done.
Right. Well, they,
But the,
You're talking about the engineering?
the engineering, I don't think is done, that we could go get a bid on it right now. Firm engineering design,
I would,
yeah.
Get it, but it's just,
well, I think that there's some consideration because we have existing brick, and how they do vapor barriers, how they're going to tie into the roofing structure to do the
Yeah, and
the other
that's
hip part of it.
expensive to get a design that somebody can then bid off of.
Right.
Whether it's inside, outside, or the parking lot, it's all, well, the parking lot's going to cost $80-some thousand to design, and it's not just parking, it's drainage and
But it seems like we
the whole
obviously
thing.
need some portion of that outside just to keep things moving over.
Yeah. Well, and also, we're assuming the facade design is not going to affect the final site plan.
No.
Yeah.
We identify in the site plan the main entrance that this design is putting forth, and we also anticipate the addition in the back
For the elevator.
for the elevator shaft.
We made sure that the site plan coordinated with the engineering drawings in that aspect.
All right, so let me ask a couple questions. You said before you were recommending the 84,000, I believe, to complete the site plan. Now, that's just design only, but they will give us some good numbers on what it would cost to not only do the exterior, the landscaping, the stormwater, what have you, but also the sidewalk. So they'll break that down per element, I guess, whatever, unit cost, whatever. But we need that if we want to do the sidewalk, but we don't have any idea right now what that sidewalk would cost to tie into the Connolly money.
Correct. So what we're asking for is 84 will get you a final engineered site plan from which you can base estimating the costs of those different elements.
So doing that has us poised in the future, when we find the money, to do that work and to make that connection, but we don't know if we have enough money to even do that.
Correct. And then we would have to do the same thing that we're talking about when we're looking at the phasing at the Harover property, is if we build this one portion, does that kick in a stormwater management requirement? Now, I know that they're recommending, I believe, that we purchase nutrient credits, which is a way that you can, instead of installing something, you can buy out of a bank and say, okay, we've contributed our amount. That works on tight sites to be able to do that. But the same consideration is if you piecemeal plan, you have to see what has to be done at what time. You can't just assume, just like you wouldn't do the landscaping before you did the underground drainage.
So if we spend, let's say we spend the 149.5 to get build-out interior plans and the site
Exterior.
plan done, positioning us to move forward in the future, haven't decided on the facade or anything else, but we have plans in hand.
That are perishable after, say, 5 years, or they're good for
No,
more than that?
They're good for,
They're good for at least 5 years. They limited the 5-year deadline, if I'm correct.
Site planning and building plans are two different animals. The site plan usually has a minimum of 5 years vesting.
Right. I mean, they'll have to be updated due to any changes in regs or code or what have you. I
But,
mean,
yeah,
you'll have
building
to do
code, you have to update for building code, and you have to update for erosion and sediment control, but you can be grandfathered for things like stormwater management.
okay, so that means 149.5. What are we not getting somewhere else? Because if we decide to do this,
Exactly.
we're making a decision on our capital improvement plan that we're not buying something else, right? I'm
Probably.
again, you guys have had all these discussions for the last 2 years.
so that means the park goes on hold when we do this.
Now, the park still has money. but not very much. Neither site has very much money.
How much capital improvement funds do we have? 300K plus, slightly? 575.
Well, let's go back to what we just did, right?
Right, so, so this is, we're spending 150.
Oh, big percentage.
It is, but we only have 2 big properties in town. I mean, this one and Hanover.
So how much have we spent already on this?
Yeah.
On
Some of the
this
fun
one,
part
you've
of it.
already spent almost $120,000. That's including up to the preliminary plan for the site design and the build-out plans and design that you did over here.
So, okay, so 120 to date, and how much more time does the 149 represent? Over what period? Is it the next 6 months, the next 12 months?
I'm going to say 12 months, just because, I mean, we've had the preliminary plan ready. Things happen, so let's say 12
Right.
months.
Right.
So
So that'll likely be in this fiscal year? Likely.
I think it'll likely be this fiscal year.
So that means 149, and right now, we're only showing 123, and we just approved, right? Am I reading that right? We have, so we'll have to get more money for that at another date, but just raising it.
Council Morris?
I don't think we fully understand what the build-out aspect, the 64,000 represents, correct?
It sounds like we're going to need,
So if we don't understand what the 64 represents, why are we including it in trying to get $150,000 approved? If we don't, I mean, let's say, for instance, the 64 represents building out and designing this section. We don't need that.
right.
So we take that out of the equation, and all we're looking at right now is the 84,000 plus. And if the 84,000 can get us somewhere, which one of these recommendations then, which one of these options are we looking at? It's not 3, it's not 4.
Well, the only one, I didn't make that one of the options to not do the build-out.
It's not one of the options, but can we know what the build-out represents? Because here's the deal. We've discussed this at length, and we talked about this whole big plan. But I don't think we are in agreement in doing anything right now with this section, because it is working. And it may be a project for the new town manager when he comes on to look at it to say, well, how can we shift around and make it work as it is? Especially since we have 2 big projects looking on. We're looking at the outside for this property, and we're looking at the Harover. So how about if we try to find out what the 64,000 represent, and if it does represent building out this section for what the word means, then we put that and take it off the table.
See what the phase,
It's just put,
But
It means design.
And that's what we probably need to take it out if we can. If we can take that out of and don't think about the design and spending 64,000 right now. My personal view on this is that we're trying to do too much stuff, and designing this is not that important right now. It is important.
Right. I tend to agree with you. But remember, if you don't design this, you don't design the elevator. You don't design anything else in this building, and therefore, you can't do anything more inside this building. Everything has to be done outside. You're stuck until you do the design later.
But sir, I don't know if that is true. I don't know if we would be stuck, that we can't do anything outside if we don't design the build-out. Marshawn, can you shed any light on that?
I understand what he's saying is that if you can still do your exterior facade, you have an architectural drawing that's approved, you'd have to probably get a more, something like you said, to put out the bid to do the exterior. But what I understand what you're saying is the interior build-out.
Right.
So we're trying to figure out what and both of those only get you a design. They don't get you the cash that you need to execute.
and I think we need to find out what phase 2 is actually equal.
Sounds like we need to do a work session.
Yeah, I think so too. I think a work session with being able to understand where we are today and,
But we need someone to bring us the information.
yep.
I can send out the addendum that covered what you guys approved for the build-out.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what it is that when I got, these are numbers from an approved addendum, so.
Okay.
My only fear, and I agree with you, we need to somehow shoehorn in another meeting that we can look at this design, but part of doing it now is we've got the design group already in hand.
Right.
If we wait, it's
Right.
going to cost us, I'm going to throw out a figure, probably $100K rather than $64K for another firm to pick it up from scratch.
But sir, there is an option there to hold the 2014
If they let us hold,
fee.
they may
That
not.
would be my recommendation, is that you have the same firm finish the design, because trying to get someone else caught up to
Mm-hmm.
speed, not only is it time, it's a lot of money, and you also have to re-advertise. It is a lot more
Well,
effort.
no, I'm just saying, but
But-
they're not going to hold for 2 years.
Yeah, well, sometimes they do, but they're going to want, but what I would anticipate is if you say, can we put this on hold? What they would say is, okay, I have not talked to them about it, but what I would anticipate to happen is if they agree to putting it on hold until we're ready, so let's say we come back in 2018. They said, okay, well, you know what, we want to update our prices now to 2018 prices because we quoted you 2014 prices. So it will cost more. I mean, you put it on hold, it will cost more to do the design any way you look at it.
And they'll be doing design that we may end up not constructing.
That's true. That's why,
And so that's what we really need to think about.
that's what you need to think about, and that's,
So is there the potential to go back to them to see, well, because right now they're burning cash. If they're still working, doing design,
okay, they are not working on the site plan design because I specifically stopped them until the preliminary plan was approved, because I wanted to make sure that we didn't have changes that came up. So they're already in a holding
They're in a holding
pattern
pattern. What
on the
about the-
preliminary
What
plan.
about the build-out?
The build-out is my understanding that they have gone to the next phase, which is, I believe, the phase 2. We have not put them on hold on that.
And what is
So we need-
phase 2?
That's what we
I think
need.
it
That's
was
the
this
question.
section. I think phase 2 is this section here.
I think it was, it
Stop.
was blending,
I
blending
think we
the
need to
two.
hold them off on that.
And phase 3, as I recall, was the final was here.
Mechanical room.
Right.
the entryway and how it ties into this.
Yep.
Well, obviously, we need to understand that all better.
Yep.
And what the consequences are of each action. I
Yep.
mean, and there are options, and there are also sub-options related to this, so.
My recommendation is if you don't know if you're going to truly cancel it, I would try and schedule a work session as soon as possible, rather than putting them on hold and taking them off hold.
Right.
Like, so they're already on hold with the site plan.
Okay.
Right? That's what I was just about
But
to
I think
say.
the problem with that is that if we schedule a work session in the next 3 weeks, that gives them 3 weeks of work on the build-out that we may eventually come back and said, hold off.
Right.
So is it possible to have them hold off until the work session?
I can always make a call. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can always make a call. I mean, in our contract, we can terminate the contract just at our convenience. I mean, we always have the option. And I think if we call and say, can you hold off, they probably would.
Is there consensus that we should be proceeding with the site plan?
Yes.
I hear yes, yes.
Yes, but I would say yes, but I would love clarification as to what the build-out is, if it's our interpretation of what it is.
Well, then, yeah, just the site plan aspect
But
of
only
it.
continue a site plan after it's the interim or the preliminary is approved.
Right.
Which hasn't been done yet.
Is there a reason we had them hold on the site plan?
Yes, because we have to get the preliminary plan approved. And we've been held up on getting the preliminary approved. At first, we had to determine who could approve a landscape waiver. Then we had to go through revising the ordinance for that. Then we had to wait, make sure there's no objections. Then we brought the waivers to you, and then it got kicked back to the planning commission. I think that's the next agenda item, is to get the waivers approved so that we can come next month and get the preliminary site plan approved.
Is a quick history helpful, how we got here in the first place? If I can do it in 30 seconds?
You can.
30
Okay.
seconds.
You, Marshawn?
I can do it in 30 seconds, anytime.
Okay, ready.
Okay, we did the master plan, 3 options. Those 3 options translated into the preliminary site plan that you see. And then that anticipated this remaining as a mixed retail government offices building, and the police station was going to be in the back. The council moved to let's make this a government service center, and that was an add-on to the RDA contract to bring in the architectural and engineering services to do the build-out of the building. So if you pull back to what the original contract was, which was the site planning, I think that gets you in a good position, and you can come back and revisit the architecturals at a later date. So I hate for us to lose momentum because all the work done in the site planning, not the build-out, but the site planning.
Right.
But I would also like to see what the stage of the build-out they are doing, because if it is stuff for like the electrical or stuff that is actually going to still, not necessarily this space, I get you don't want to necessarily do this space, but if it's stuff that needed to be done as part of the integration of the police department, but it wasn't the emergency, I think you guys need to know that.
Right. I think we do. We need to have more information.
But I
on that.
see what Chris is saying, if you're going to let them work for 3 more weeks on something we don't need.
Hold it. In some ways, I don't think we've been losing traction with the site plan. It seemed like it was on hold because we needed certain things in place, which is the direction that we're going. So hopefully, those items are going to be addressed. One of them, probably tonight, will be addressed. So we're not, I mean, us saying we'll move ahead with the site plan, we didn't stop the site plan. We had issues that we have to be doing. So once we get these issues sorted out, we will continue with the site plan. But I think it is beneficial for us to pause, if it's even until the next work session, pause this, the build-out.
Why don't we look at maybe a continuation meeting then? Thoughts?
We're going to have to, not if we want to be here till midnight.
Right.
Well, we don't have.
We'll do have the answers, yes.
Right.
Okay.
But I don't, I think we could decide tonight to move forward with the site plan.
Well, it's not, we can't move forward with the site plan. It's the items that we need to address.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have to give the waiver. We have
Right.
to then vote on it next month, but we should not vote on the waivers tonight. We should vote on the waivers tonight.
Approving the site plan will not cost you any more money.
That's exactly right.
You know, we want you to get across that finish line. What we would determine is, do you want to spend the 84 to get the final site plan done? And that can happen at your discretion.
Okay.
Okay, so you're setting up a continuation meeting?
Well, obviously, we need to either have a work session or a continuation meeting, one of the two.
To give her direction as far as pausing the build-out until the decision from the continuation meeting?
Their availability, I mean, if we put together a meeting and said, hey, we can do this on Friday or Monday next week or something like that,
Are the design people going to come?
or will they be able to?
We're going to need them.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we need to be able to answer those questions. How
I
flexible is their
would,
schedule?
as soon as you guys make a date, I'll get in touch with them to say, can you kind of hold off until you come and address the new council, to let them know what these different phases are and what they're at.
Right, okay,
And are you available on this date?
okay.
That's what I can do.
Be helpful to understand what they've done, what the costs have been associated with what they've done so far, and what the future holds, and what the cost is associated with that time frame. Just lay it all out.
Okay.
So now what I need then is a date.
Next Monday.
Next Monday? Which is the,
18th.
any conflicts?
I have one, but I might be able to get out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Looks like, good.
And Jed's
Do we
going to
do-
check something.
Do we want to look at also maybe like a 6 o'clock start time? Would that be better?
I'm good, sir.
6 next Monday?
Yeah, we only have the Haymarket meeting, Haymarket Day meeting at 2, so,
And then
Good.
8:30 in the morning.
right, well,
What's that?
Just don't go home.
All right, so we're looking at a continuation meeting for next Monday, 6 o'clock. And we're going to reach out to
The architect to have them
Right.
come. Okay.
be able to, any information they can give prior to the meeting, that would be
What I'll
really
just do
helpful.
is send, I will definitely, tomorrow, I will go ahead and send everybody the addendum that you approved, the work order that you approved.
Right. Okay.
So that might be helpful too.
Yep.
One more thing, because it's just a few days away, do you think we need to put that pause on the build-out, or no? In your opinion, Holly?
I can mention it, can you just kind of hold off until you come and talk to them?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the pause is just, what, a week?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that doesn't seem to be a big deal.
Yeah, but if,
So can we just go back to the addendum, though? And of course, probably most of us don't remember what we approved, but can you just give me a little rundown exactly what that addendum entailed? Do you,
No, because I didn't manage that, so I
Okay.
really
All right,
can't.
so
I really
does
don't feel
anybody-
comfortable speaking to
would
that.
anybody-
We
no.
have it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have a copy, we have copies of it, and that's what I was saying. But the addendum, the work order was to do all of this build out, and it talked about the phases and.
Of course, we wouldn't have had the police department if we didn't have that.
Correct. Right,
So
right.
that's a big value there.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for that, right?
Holly, thank you.
One thing I'd be interested in learning
Thank you, Holly.
is if there's a way, in amongst ourselves or Mashant or somebody, might have a rough idea of what the cost would be to do the site plan, the actual construction, full site plan. Is it $250,000 to $500,000? I mean, I'm talking about those type of numbers there. And what would it potentially cost for a new facade? Is it $100,000 to $200,000? Just throwing out, looking at ballpark numbers there.
Well, we're talking about stormwater management as part of that.
Yeah.
That's going to be pretty hefty.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, it would be useful to us to know this, big ticket items, because we're not even talking about the inside here.
Right.
We're just talking about the outside. And to see, how feasible is this to actually do?
And I think we did get some rough ideas, especially with the Harrover property. We did get some rough ideas, estimates that.
Exactly.
that
They can
gave us.
draw it off some of the conceptuals. I mean, it's not going to be dead on. It's going to have a high
I'm looking
contingency
for
level.
wide
built in.
numbers there.
When we did.
It's order of magnitude, yeah.
When we looked at the Kennedy plan for this building, there was not much interior work to be done. It was mostly facade, and you were talking $1 million.
Facade and,
And exterior.
and
Not
What are they going
Not
to
a
do,
lot of
gold plated?
But they were doing a lot more in terms of moving the buildings around. They were also going to do the brick pavers.
They were, but it was
Gold-
still,
gold lining and
we were talking a lot of money, so.
Yep.
You know,
That's what
but
I'd like
but
to-
you
you can't
wouldn't do
get-
anything without the plans, so, yeah.
I think we should be able to get some good guesstimates. I mean, we know what we just spent for siding all four sides of this building back here, and you would think that that's maybe a third of this building, possibly. So that was,
What I can do is
siding is
ask-
different from brick or something, or facade.
What I can do is ask for rough estimates, keeping in mind the same thing as when the architect was talking to you about this project. It will be only rough estimates, that until you do the detailed design, but I'll see if I can't get, at least for the work session, ask for order of magnitude.
That's exactly right. They'll give you order of magnitude, they'll build in a heavy-duty contingency percentage, and even then, there are unforeseen conditions.
I think Hanover was $1.5 million to $2 million for the plan that was adopted, and this one, I want to say 500,000 was a number that sticks in my mind. With the
That's what I think for the site development, we'd always thought of, and I never had computed the cost of build-out.
The other thing, part of the element too, is funding grants. I think having that base document and getting those estimates allows us to go out and get that grant money to help offset. So hopefully that'll help us too.
okay. All right, moving along. Thank you, Holly.
Thanks, Holly.
On page 47, our town center preliminary site plan.
Don't look so glum.
You saw this last month. Probably easier to see the color photographs that are inside your packet. So there was 3 concepts that came out. I put a summary in the report of what it was meant to do, or what the kind of critical issues were with the site plan. Just so probably hard to see it here. This is Washington Street. This is Jefferson Street, main building, Hullfish House, former police station, Washington Street. The main focus was on trying to reduce the amount of impervious surface, increase the screening around the perimeter of the property, create a more formal public space on the corner, and also increase parking. So right now, we have estimated 53 parking spaces. With this revised plan, would get us up to about 73. The stumbling block was on the site plan waivers. Right now, we require, just trying to be brief. The site plan waivers primarily had to do with the 2 residential properties, the Garcia property that we have off the back, and and also the residential use we have off the back. The ordinance normally requires a 25-foot buffer or separation. This plan, while it doesn't provide the 25-foot buffer, actually increases the amount of vegetation that separates us. Right now, we have gravel all the way to the fence. This pulls that back, creates a nice vegetative screening in addition to the fence, opens up some of the areas that are currently gravel behind us to some swales and some other stormwater management techniques, and again, creates quite an attractive streetscape, brings the shared use path all the way to Washington Street, widens the right-of-way to allow a center turn lane. It also creates a wider sidewalk along Washington Street. Right now, it's about 5 feet, brings it out to almost 8, and then creates street trees and some other pedestrian-friendly elements to kind of separate the public space from the main street. So, and it does accommodate, as you see in the back, the anticipated future expansions, the mechanical room, the elevator shaft for the future expansion of the town hall. Also tears up all the asphalt around the Washington Street Realty building and brings in some heavy vegetation. What's nice about this element, you'll see it creates the formal space on the corner, also creates a kind of a public platform area, creates some seating walls and some pedestrian separation on the corner. And all of this will be flat. So right now we have kind of a continuous surface that allows us to be multi-purpose. Same thing here, where this whole area is not going to be curb and gutter with the parking. It'll allow that nice continuous surface. You can have a multi-purpose facility. So it's a good plan, I believe. The Planning Commission came out with a recommendation of approval. Should the board or the council approve it, per your order or your direction, the engineer will go ahead and design the final site plan. The key difference in the final site plan is the heavy engineering of the stormwater management, which will give us the better estimate for cost. So,
And if we approve these waivers, we don't have to have a public hearing or anything?
we did that last
We
month.
did that, okay.
Correct. The holdup, this sounds very bureaucratic, the planning, it was written in the ordinance, the commission had the discretion to waive some of these requirements. Through the legal review of the ad, it was determined the PC doesn't have that authority by state legislation. So we amended the zoning ordinance to say the zoning administrator can approve an alternative screen, but it has to go through the public hearing process. So in my mind, this alternative screening meets the standard to an equivalent degree, and we're actually bringing the site much more into the current standard than it is today, because right now we don't have anything. So, and we have granted similar concessions in the past.
I'll make a motion to approve the waivers.
Motion on the floor.
Second.
Should the motion read closer to what's on paper here?
What's that?
Would you like to amend
What
your
is
motion,
47?
sir?
Did I mess something up?
Would you like to amend your motion, sir?
That's what you're approving tonight is a preliminary site plan. I'm sorry, your motion in there will encompass the waivers as part of it. So.
Let me get to that piece.
I don't have a 48.
Here we go. I move that the town council approve preliminary site plan, Papa Romeo Echo number 2015054, Haymarket Town Center, redevelopment prepared by Rinker Design Associates, PC, dated May 2015, revised through February 17, 2016.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion on this motion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Costello. Aiken.
Yes.
Yay.
Okay, that was easy.
That was a going away gift.
Thank you very much.
Okay, our next item. We're on page 57, additional improvements to the Railway Caboose deck.
What does Denise need to do now?
So if council would turn to page 58 in their packet, it'll give you an aerial view and diagram of the museum, the deck, the proposed stairs, path, and the caboose. On July 28th, staff, along with council, met in regards to preparation for Haymarket Day. During that meeting, the discussion came up of the location for the beer garden for this year's Haymarket Day. During that discussion, the idea of creating a second set of access stairs at the rear of the deck was brought forward. This is actually not the first time that it was kind of discussed. I know I've spoken to several council members about potentially in the future using the deck and the caboose for birthday parties and events, and that second access would be utilized for that as well, so it's important for that too. The idea was discussed with the town engineer, and her recommendation was that if a staircase was added to the rear of the deck, that a path should be created so that the continuous pedestrian flow. In addition, I met with our building official, and he saw no issue with adding the additional stairs as well, the improvement to the deck. So you see the rendering that I did. At this time, we do not know what the impact would be to the budget. However, our building official said at minimal, just for the stairs, would probably be about $1,200. So that's not including something more elaborate and adding the path with probably pebble stones or something like that to lead to the ellipse in the park area.
So the path would not be concrete or anything like that, it's just going to be?
No, it would not be concrete.
Okay.
Some type of stone or pebble leading to the ellipse. So staff is recommending that council authorize the Main Street Coordinator to proceed with obtaining quotes for the improvements itself. Once the quotes are received, to coordinate with the mayor, with Mayor Leak on engaging contractors to install the improvement, obtain all necessary permits, and work with the building official to ensure that the overall safety of the improvement. What is missing out of this is the actual total capacity for the deck, and that number I can get from our building official because he did give us that number. However, I did not include it in this.
Are we looking to authorize up to a certain amount? Because this is very open-ended.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this kind of going two ways. We could probably use our landscaping contractor to do the pathway. We could probably use one of the vendors that we've used in the past to get us a quote for the steps, which...
Don't we normally get 3 quotes?
Well, I think there's also, no, not for something...
Less than $10,000.
Yeah.
And this is not.
Yeah, so we would use 2 of our established contractors to just knock this thing out.
Because it's a small job.
Yeah.
It's not very.
You could ask the stair company to donate the stairs too.
Stairs, yeah, the stair company.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Yeah, they throw away these things all the time. You want me, I'll go over there.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
And then while you're at it, let's see if they'll do the ones for the caboose, those black ones that are
yes.
deteriorating.
Good
Oh,
point.
sure, let's just throw it all in.
So without objection, I mean, is there any objection for proceeding as recommended?
I think it's a great idea.
We're looking at completing this before Haymarket Day.
Yes, we are looking to complete it before Haymarket Day.
Well, if you're going to be budgeting, and appropriating more than $500, you do need to vote on that.
Okay. So somebody
But
want
we
to
don't
turn
have
this
a
into
number.
maybe not to exceed,
The not to exceed is a great idea.
Yeah.
Call it 2,000,
let's say 2,500.
2,500.
3?
I'd say 3.
3.
Wow. Depends upon the material they're going to put in the path and all that. You think 3 is too expensive?
I think that's crazy.
I think the path is
I mean,
not that
it's
long.
good, it's good to have a
Well,
not
but
to
do they have
exceed.
edging to keep the pebbles in? I mean, there's all sorts of,
Even if you split it,
Things.
2,000 for the step and 1,000 for the landscaping, I think you're
But the issue is having enough money there that we approve.
Right.
Keep Martin happy. If we go not to exceed 3,000, we probably won't spend it all, but at least we'll have it there so she can move forward with the project. Right, Martin?
Yes.
Very good.
do we have to say which line item it comes out of?
Yes, somebody's going to have to figure that out, yes.
Yeah, about
Either
maintenance or
direct
repair.
that, or direct somebody to figure that out, or out of existing lines.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute, our landscaping budget, there we go.
Landscaping budget and repair and maintenance.
Came in at,
There you go.
so,
So the form of the motion would be to approve the staff recommendation with a not-to-exceed figure of $3,000 to come out of the landscaping and repair and maintenance respectively.
So moved.
second? Second, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed? Abstained? Unanimous. All right.
Ice Pebble, are we using?
Moving on.
9.
We'll be shoveling the pebbles.
White Pebble or Gray Pebble?
Match the caboose, it'll be red. Capital improvement plan.
This is informational? This is informational, right? What do we, what's our? Here.
Advise staff of the desired funding for each project for FY 2017.
I think we were going to discuss that at our continuation.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Put that over.
So we should all read this before our continuation.
Virginia Power update. What do we got? August 5th was, we got a
Yeah.
email from Elena.
Actually, I heard from Ken Shred at the SEC. They're going to have post-hearing briefings will be filed by various parties, and they're due Friday, August 5th. That was the date agreed to by the parties, and the hearing examiner so directed from the bench. Once the briefs are filed, there's no specific timeline for the hearing examiner to issue a report which serves as a recommendation to the commission for action. Once the hearing examiner report is filed, parties to the case are given 21 days to file comments on that report. So I don't expect to see anything in the next couple of months, I would think.
Fall. When does their contract expire, I wonder? We can just keep delaying this?
Keep pushing them out. It was interesting, one thing I observed, I looked at the docket this morning, or yesterday, Crossroads Village, HOA, they had to make a second submission because what was originally sent by certified mail was either not logged on or not received.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm not sure what that means to others who may have made some comments and were not received and never checked on it. So I thought that was a little interesting, a little troubling.
Yeah. About our process. Okay. VRE update.
Well, I sent everybody an email after the meeting, so I don't think we need to go through that again.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
We'll go down to our council member time. Councilman Cole. Great. Councilwoman
I'm
Edwards.
fine too, thank you.
Councilmember Aitken.
I'm going with the flow.
Councilmember Leek.
None.
Councilmember Morse.
I just have 3 issues.
Peer pressure.
Can you turn his mic off?
I'm just looking forward for what the chief and his team have in store for tomorrow night, National Night Out. And I'm getting excited about Haymarket Day. I think Denise has been doing, I'm glad she left. Oh, she's still here. I think she's been doing it. Can you leave, please?
Yeah, he wants to talk nice about you.
He's just kidding. Denise, you don't have to.
So go home and watch the tape.
I think she's been doing a good job just putting things together and just going around and meeting with residents.
That's what we want.
Yeah, so for us, the encouragement is sign up. Sign up for those empty slots.
Already there.
Support. And the next one is, I'm excited also about the field of applicants that we have for the town manager. I'm just excited to see where the interviews go, and I think our town is going to benefit a lot from, the expertise that's out there. So that's it, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great. Vice Mayor.
Yes, just to pivot on what Chris said about National Night Out. I think it's important to note that we do have a very professional police department. Chief, thank you so much for working to make that happen and keeping that going. I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure, given current events, that they're safe and secure too. And so the fact that we now have a facility that we can all be proud of, that they can be proud of, I think is tremendous. So, you know, I just want to say also that that's integral to, how shall I say this, making sure that, and I said this before, safe and secure, but I made a note here. It's very difficult for me to talk about because I have some family members in, and I worry about them in this job. They're out there putting themselves out on the line, and I just think it's important that we recognize all the families and friends of the fallen officers across this country. And I hope tomorrow night is a very successful event in getting that message across. So that's really all I wanted to share. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Just one other observation. If you haven't noticed, it seems like our new landscaping company is doing a bang-up job. If you can just, as you're walking through the town, I can definitely see a difference there. But,
They were up at Harrover today.
yeah, looks great. So,
You want to continue the time for the interview?
yes, we need to do that as well. So that isn't a motion, right? That's just what I have to read.
There is a motion there that's required.
Okay. Maybe we just give it to one to read.
Can I have it?
Sure.
Pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3712B, I move that the town council meet within the next 15 days of today's date to hold closed meetings solely for the purpose of interviewing candidates for town manager without further notice to the public of the date, time, or location of those meetings.
I'll second.
Second, discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstention? Unanimous. And the motion passes. Okay, so the town council will hold one or more meetings over the next 15 days for the purpose of interviewing candidates for the position of town manager. And there will be no notices given of the date, time, or location of the interviews, which may be held within or outside the town limits. There we go. And now we need a closed session with all the items that we need to discuss.
So, and that's Blue Sky and the appointments, and what else?
We have personnel matters, we have also possibility of lease negotiations.
Okay. So that would be the motion that the council convene in closed session to discuss the following as permitted by Virginia Code, Section 2.23711A1, personnel matters involving consideration or interviews of candidates for employment or appointment, and as permitted by Virginia Code, Section 2.23711A3, a matter involving disposition of publicly held real property because discussion in an open session would adversely affect our bargaining position, and as permitted by Virginia Code, Section 2.23711A7, consultation with legal counsel and briefing by staff or consultants about the pending case of Blue Sky Enterprises versus the town of Haymarket.
Personnel?
And performance evaluation of job assignments, or
Appointment, promotion, performance.
more generally under 3711A1, personnel matters of town employees. Okay.
So moved.
All right. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great.
Schedule them.
Yeah, all right.
Adjourn? Oh.
Good, okay, we'll go ahead and call our meeting back to order. If we could have the motion to bring us back into session.
Yes, sir, the motion would be to the effect that... Thank you. The motion would be to the effect that the council certifies that in the closed session just concluded, nothing was discussed except the matter or matters, 1, specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session, and 2, lawfully permitted to be discussed under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in that motion.
So moved. Morris.
Yes.
Cole. Yes. Edwards. Yes. Lee.
Yes.
Lee.
Yes.
Costello.
Aye.
Yes. We have a directive.
For the mayor to proceed as directed, as discussed in closed session.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, we have another motion.
Make
Steve?
a motion to adjourn.
I second.
For that?
Aye.
Aye.